Okay, thank you very much for the prize again and for the opportunity to talk to this interesting Congress. Accompanying me is Cristina Cordova, Design Director at ARA. I am Ignasi Arogai, the newspaper assistant editor. In this presentation, we'd like to show and explain you some examples of the designs used by our paper, both in print and digital formats. We will be focusing especially on front pages and the interactives. Through them, we believe that we can offer you an insight into our way of understanding journalism. As our editor, Esther Vera, mentioned last night in the award-giving ceremony, ARA is a newspaper that sees journalism as a space of freedom and commitment. We are committed to a journalism of ideas, usually constructive ideas, which is necessarily bound to innovation in narrative forms and in design. But what do we mean by a journalism of ideas? Well, we mean that behind every piece of information, behind each news story, behind every article, behind every photograph, behind every graphic, there lies a way of viewing the world. This way of viewing the world, grounded in our case in social humanism, in the defense of democratic values, in solidarity and diversity, in culture and education, is what we want to transmit to our readers, what we want ourselves to be identified with, allowing us to create a community that interacts through the newspaper. As it has been said, today is not enough just to report the news. A newspaper must also be a community project that is educational and artistic, a cultural and social project. What I'm saying is that beyond reporting events as news, our newspaper must have a profound meaning for our readers. It must have an educational vocation and it must have an aesthetic identity. That means that it must reach people through their hearts, their brains and their senses. And that is what we are trying to do every day. When our editor-in-chief, Esther Vera, Cristina Cordova and I get together to think up a front page, apart from headlines and apart from the polemical news of the day, we are concerned with all of these things. Aesthetics, beauty is very important. It is maybe as important as the information itself, and as important as our desire to be understandable and educational. All of these things are part of our need to make a connection with our readers that is both emotional and rational.
Our weekday covers are more fragmented and feature a maximum of 6 topics. These are some examples from March and April in which local topics are mixed with international stories because we are an atypical regional newspaper, being open to the world and with a general news vocation. We are not really very regional. Obama's victory was captured on this front page, which has a headline in English. It was chosen of one of the most original front pages of the day by the museum in Washington. But the front pages that we like to create, the most are like signs or posters, like all advertisements from the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century. Sometimes we use images and other times only graphics. We use them especially at the weekend and occasionally for big news. Our readers already know that they will find a bit of everything in the paper: politics, culture, sports, economics, entertainment. But we choose a single message from the front cover, a power idea. And we produce it as clearly and as beautifully as we can. We put clarity and beauty at the service of information made up of ideas.
The German Wings tragedy, the plane crash, in which many young Germans and Catalan people died, had a big emotional impact on us. We wanted to express our grief on the front page of the paper.
The Climate Summit. We used this front page to present the results of the Climate Summit in Paris. It's the first time we create a front page in green.
Our cartoonist Jordi Duró drew this front cover image for us on the day of the Charlie Hebdo terrorist attack. We wanted our cartoonist's work to be on the front page that day.
The National Day of Catalonia. The 11th of September is our National Day. We usually produce special issues with monothematic front pages. A lot of papers are sold that day and the following one. They are days of both celebration and protest.
In this issue, we analyzed the new male chauvinism, asking why teenagers are falling back into the attitudes that we thought had been overcome following the feminist revolution of the 20th century. We tried to find answers to that question in this special issue.
As you probably know, the World Mobile Congress is held in Barcelona every year. The whole city gets behind this event, and so do we. Special issues.
Okay.
No,
are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Here are some examples of special issues. We often published on Sundays with monographic front pages and sometimes featuring monographic content.
This one is the Book Day. Yeah, this one also. Every 23rd of April, we celebrate Book Day, which is it's very important in Catalonia, where everyone takes the streets to buy books and roses. Following tradition, men give roses and women give books, but nowadays the other way around also. We celebrate the day with the special issues of the newspaper in which for one day there is more literature, more fiction than news. Sometimes there's also only fiction. As you know, literature often explains really better than journalism. We also use front pages with always the same phrase, which means read and love, to read and to love.
We often produce zine issues with a graphic and conceptual axis that runs through all the pages, and that is also reflected on the web. This landscape zine issues was very special. We wanted to capture all the different landscapes of Catalonia, coastal and mountain, rural and urban, rundown and idyllic, unknown and well done. We created a large dossier with experts analyzing various aspects of the landscape. And apart from the dossier, all the regular news pages, politics, business, culture, sports, were also illustrated with photos of landscapes.
We have devoted a number of issues to artists. This one is about Joan Miró, and this other one is about Miquel Barceló. He's one of the most important artists, Catalan and Mallorca, Balearic artists. He decided to devote this issue to Africa. All of the illustrations in this issue were done by him. We did some crucial preparatory work in his Paris studio, and then he came to the newsroom the day before publication and spent the whole day with us, painting watercolors to illustrate different pages. Museums of all over the world asked us for this special paper. This other one is dedicated to the Catalan National Museum of Art. We also illustrated the whole newspaper with paintings from the collection of this museum.
The children's paper. For the last 3 years, we have commemorated International Children's Day, the 20th of November, with an issue illustrated by children aged from 6 to 12. We do that with the collaboration of schools and families who work on it for weeks, following our directions. A group of selected boys and girls come to the newsroom the day before publication to draw the news of the day under the supervision of our design team. It's a gratifying experience and the results are often surprising.
ARA came into being with the aim of rethinking our country, Catalonia, and of understanding and making a contribution to improving a rapidly changing world in crisis, in which we believe Europe should have a more ambitious role than it has now. In the face of xenophobic populism, with its roots on the right and on the left, we need more Europe, a more plural Europe, more united and more democratic, more open and multi-centered. A Europe that does not put up fences when faced by a refugee crisis and that does not waver in the face of jihadist terrorism. And that's what we wanted to express when we designed this front page dealing with the recent tragic events in Brussels. We all know that journalism, especially with regards to newspapers, is having a very hard time in business terms right now. Most of the companies behind media platforms are making losses, and that makes our work more difficult. It also leads us occasionally to look for balances that leave us feeling unsatisfied. But it is precisely because of that awareness of our own fragility that we are obliged now more than ever to pursue the ideal of journalistic independence. And we are also obliged to innovate and to reinvent ourselves constantly in order to reconnect with our public. That innovation involves a necessary dialogue between contents and design, that is ethics and aesthetics. That is part of our very DNA at ARA, and it is something that we apply to all of our products, also our supplements and interactives.
RAR is the inverted initials of our paper names. RAR has a special meaning. While ARA means now in Catalan, RAR, meaning rare or uncommon, is the name of one of our Sunday supplements, each issue of which revolves around a personality and his or her life, tastes, or interests. Through this supplement, we travel, read, and get to know people and other times. We have also an Ara Diumenge, it's always in Sunday, and we have also our Saturday supplement about geopolitics. It's called Planeta. Passa una
Planet.
mica més. Una mica més.
Okay. Yeah, this is Planet, isn't it? Yeah.
Sí. Vale. Criatures. This supplement is concerned with education and is aimed at teachers and families. It deals with the education of children from when they are toddlers to when they are teenagers. It has a very active community of readers. ARA is seen as a reference in the field of education in Catalonia. Emprenem. This supplement is aimed at business entrepreneurs and takes the form of pages that are integrated into the newspaper as an extension of the business and economic section, but with totally different format and narrative. Vale.
This is culture.
This is called Ara Llegim, our literary supplement. It is published on Saturday. It has a more classical format. Vale. The play. This is a new supplement. This supplement will be launched next week. It is scheduled to appear every Friday and is devoted to leisure and culture. Its front page will be always feature the portrait of a well-known personality or creator, normally a young person. We plan to put on a photographic exhibition featuring the first 50 images from the first 50 front pages.
Still playing?
Yeah.
Okay, interactive content. Our interactives create a lot of work and do not always meet with a massive response from our public. We have been learning to make them more attractive. We have published interactives on a range of issues: sport, language, Catalans are passionate about our language, politics, etc. This one is in 3 languages, in Catalan, Spanish, English, in 4 languages, I think, also in French. This is in the English version. Thank you. You can see the presentation. And maybe now we can go inside, yes. And if you wanted, you could know all the goals of Messi, when he did each goal. And, well, it was, I think, to celebrate his 1,000th goal or something like that, I think. Sports is not my... yeah. Here there are other players from other teams. Okay, thank you. Now we wanted to show you another interactive. Okay. 1 month ago, we sent 2 of our journalists, Cristina and Xavier, to Greece to live for a week with refugees. They stayed in the port of Piraeus, on Lesbos, and on Idomeni. We wanted them to help us to understand and to make understandable the plight of the refugees at first hand. They share meals, smiles, stories with families who had fled from Syria, Afghanistan, and other places. On the last day, they saw them being tear-gassed and shot at with rubber bullets. Their drama now feels a little more like ours, a little more like that of our readers and of a Europe that should feel ashamed of itself. As you can see in these images, the written and graphic diaries, including photos and film footage, were followed by thousands of readers practically in real time through our website. And their experience also provided a number of front pages for the newspaper. Thank you.
Thank you all for your attention, and thanks again both for this award and the opportunity to tell you all about our newspaper. Thank you very much.
Thank you.